Above all things, never think that you're not good enough yourself. A man should never think that. My belief is that in life people will take you at your own reckoning. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Never let your sense of morals get in the way of doing what's right. The most exciting phrase to hear in science, the one that heralds new discoveries, is not "Eureka," but "that's funny." Part of the inhumanity of the computer is that, once it is competently programmed and working smoothly, it is completely honest. Creationists make it sound as though a theory is something you dreamt up after being drunk all night. Suppose that we are wise enough to learn and know, yet not wise enough to control our learning and knowledge, so that we use it to destroy ourselves. Even so, knowledge remains better than ignorance. In life, unlike chess, the game continues after checkmate. To succeed, planning alone is insufficient. One must improvise as well. If knowledge can create problems, it is not through ignorance that we can solve them. Any book worth banning is a book worth reading. Life is pleasant. Death is peaceful. It's the transition that's troublesome. I do not fear computers. I fear the lack of them. The easiest way to solve a problem is to deny it exists. All sorts of computer errors are now turning up. You'd be surprised to know the number of doctors who claim they are treating pregnant men. Self-education is, I firmly believe, the only kind of education there is. There are no happy endings in history, only crisis points that pass. Humanity has the stars in its future, and that future is too important to be lost under the burden of juvenile folly and ignorant superstition. If my doctor told me I had only 6 minutes to live, I wouldn't brood. I'd type a little faster. The saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. It is not only the living who are killed in war. People think of education as something they can finish. My feeling is, quite simply, that if there is a God, he has done such a bad job that he isn't worth discussing. Intelligence is an accident of evolution, and not necessarily an advantage. Scientific truth is beyond loyalty and disloyalty. Any fool can tell a crisis when it arrives. The real service to the state is to detect it in embryo. I don't believe in personal immortality. The only way I expect to have some version of such a thing is through my books. Anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. I write for the same reason I breathe, because if I didn't, I would die. There never can be a man so lost as one who is lost in the vast and intricate corridors of his own lonely mind, where none may reach and none may save. I don't believe in an afterlife, so I don't have to spend my whole life fearing hell or heaven even more. For whatever the tortures of hell, I think the boredom of heaven would be even worse. Properly read, the Bible is the most potent force for atheism ever conceived. The most hopelessly stupid man is he who is not aware he is wise. The first step in making rabbit stew is catching the rabbit. People who think they know everything are a great annoyance to those of us who do. Jokes of the proper kind, properly told, can do more to enlighten questions of politics, philosophy, and literature than any number of dull arguments. The true delight is in the finding out rather than in the knowing. I'll believe anything, no matter how wild and ridiculous, if there is evidence for it. To insult someone we call him bestial. For deliberate cruelty in nature, human might be the greater insult. It has changed the dominant factor in society today. No sensible decision can be made any longer without taking into account not only the world as it is, but the world as it will be. When I read about the way in which library funds are being cut, I can only think that American society has found one more way to destroy itself. I don't expect to live forever, but I do intend to hang on as long as possible. I am not a speed reader. I am a speed understander. A subtle thought that is in error may yet give rise to fruitful inquiry that can establish truths of great value. Writing, to me, is simply thinking through my fingers. Science fiction writers foresee the inevitable, and although problems and catastrophes may be inevitable, solutions are not. There is a single light of science, and to brighten it anywhere is to brighten it everywhere. It pays to be obvious, especially if you have a reputation for subtlety. To surrender to ignorance and call it God has always been premature, and it remains premature today. Meanwhile, fears of universal disaster sank to an all-time low over the world.